Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court and CPS issues. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, and to honor alienated parents next month on International Parental Alienation Awareness Day, Epiphany Awaits is offering a faith-based retreat for alienated parents with both in-person and a Zoom option on April 23rd through the 25th, 2021 at the Resolution Center in Jacksonville, Florida. Only $100 for a weekend of support for the journey with speakers, including Dr. Mark Roseman and other professionals focused on guidance, friendship, and compassion. More details. Seating is limited and discount applies to registration before March 15th and after March 15th, $125 registration fee. Scholarships are available. Email request for application and registration form to epiphaniesawait@gmail.com. That's EPIPHANIESAWAIT@gmail.com. And right now I have a very special guest on, and her name is Elaine Cobb. Now, Elaine Cobb is a founder and president of Family Access, Fighting for Children's Rights. And Elaine is the heart behind the team of expert professionals who provide resources at little or no cost to the entire community of families who have gone through parental alienation, which helps with the healing of the fractured hearts that result. Now, for about 8 years now, Family Access Fighting for Children's Rights is a cause which has provided resources to parents, grandparents, and professionals with the latest research and support at no cost to those who participate. So I'm very, very happy to introduce Elaine Cobb, and we're going to have ourselves a discussion. And so good evening, Elaine. How are you?
I'm great, Marianne. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's
Great.
such a pleasure to meet you. We have so much to talk about. How did you become involved in this starting Family Access?
Well, my son, my only child, and I have been alienated now this time for 10 years. We were alienated once before for 2.5 years, and he came back briefly for around a year. And then he just walked out, and that was it. And we also have a granddaughter, Dare, and she will be 10 years old June. And we have never met her. As far as we know, that's the way it is. But we hope to one day get to do that, to get to meet our granddaughter. So that's how I got started in this. I basically had a pity party for a while, and that oh woe is me, time. And then I just decided, I'm going to have to do something, because this isn't working. This isn't right, what happens to families. So I began Family Access Fighting for Children's Rights in April 2012. So we're 9 years old next month. And basically started a Facebook page and thought it was just going to be for those in North Carolina where we live. And as we got more into the Facebook page, it was like all over, internationally. First we did the United States, and we started conference calls in August of 2012. And then we realized I was getting, emails and messages and private messages from people all over the world. And we now have 40 countries involved in our organization and in what we do. And it really makes me sad every time a new country gets involved, because you realize how horrible it is, and it's an epidemic all over the world. It's no respecter of persons. We have homeless people on our calls. We have multi-billionaires on our calls. We have people who are in the TV world that are well known in the TV world who are on our calls, and now our webinars. I'm going to have to get used to calling them that. But we just decided to build upon all of that. And so then we started connecting with some of the top experts in the world on alienation and understanding both parental and grandparent alienation, which is extremely important because the children need to have, access to all their family. It's not just a parental issue; it's a family issue, and so that's what we work towards. And what we do with our organization now is we do these conference calls or webinars now every month, and every other month we do 2 of them. We do a 2-hour and a 1-hour on those months, and the other months we do a 2-hour. And we have the top people to present to us and do it at no charge to us to be with us and give us information, knowledge, information, and support. We also work with having the professionals who are involved in alienation, even those that are writing about alienation, that also join our calls and webinars. And our goal is to give much knowledge, as much as we can, on the child abuse of what alienation is. It is totally abuse. It is a proven fact that alienation is child abuse. And so that's a big issue in getting the knowledge out there with the sciences, and there is proven science in this, forensic as well. And we want everybody to understand that as far as the family members, and also, of course, big time, the professionals that work in the field of alienation. That's extremely important because, they do hold a key in this with these children. And we do symposiums. We did a symposium in Kentucky in 2019. It was parental grandparent alienation and equal shared parenting, because Kentucky has still the best equal shared parenting law there is, and they've got a great law. And we were blessed to have a representative Petrie with us for our whole conference, and he even spoke. And it was an awesome conference. He did wonderful. He was very accessible to our people, and we learned a lot about the equal shared parenting and how they could work that. We also worked with understanding more about parental and grandparent alienation, and there we of course had several of our top experts that were there speaking and were there to mingle with our, the people that came. It was a great event. And so now we've scheduled one for this May. We actually had scheduled it for last October, but with COVID, we were not able to have that then in person. So we've decided to do it virtually. And now we are internationally, where people all over the world can join us as well. And we're hoping many more will from internationally. And the name of our conference will be Helping Courts Understand the Phenomenon of Alienation. And we'll be doing this May 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's a 3-day conference. And there we have 9 of the top experts joining us there. We'll be doing panel discussions. We'll be doing conferences, presentations. We'll also be doing meet and greet type style things, where we'll have an open forum in the evening, where we'll have breakout session rooms. We'll be doing 50 breakout sessions a night, where we'll separate the parents together with age groups. I'm doing them by their age groups, grandparents by their age groups with the children. And then also we'll have sessions for those who are in the legal field who want to meet together and talk, and then those in the mental health field, that they'll be able to do the same. And that will be after Friday night. Robert Hoffman will speak, and Saturday night Linda Gottlieb will speak. And so we're really excited about those times, and the presentations are going to be great. We're going to have as our keynote speakers Dr. J. Michael Bone and Dr. Bob Evans, and they have a phenomenal program scheduled for us on the Saturday, and the topics is totally on the child abuse of alienation, and they're going to be dealing with the courts. They're going to be dealing with those that we need to work with as far as the mental health, and also the legal people, the legal professionals that work in there. They're going to be sharing strategies to help them in establishing parental alienation in the court. That's very important, because a lot of times, many, and sadly most of the time, these professionals don't get it. They don't understand the abuse of alienation. They don't understand what alienation even is a lot of times. And that's important that they learn more about this, so that when they're presenting it to the judge who holds the key to these children in their lives, that they've given them the best they have and the best that there is. And this conference will allow them to receive that from the best in doing this. Even the mental health people are going to be getting a great deal amount of this from there as well. So this conference is going to be something that we have really worked hard to be ready for. Our panel discussion people, our panelists have already practiced, 2 or 3 times already, and they're ready to go, and they're chomping at the bits to get in there. We had a great meeting last week, and it was really good, and they're really ready to do it, and so are our others who are going to be presenting. But the sad part is, the children and grandchildren are thought of more as a case number instead of a human being. Mm-hmm. And this is the part that keeps me personally awake at night. They're not seeing them as what they really and truly are. It's sometimes I think of it as a production line: get them in, get them out, or just delay and put them to the side and say, we'll get to you when we can. Well, while you're getting to them when you can, unquote, those children are living with an alienator. They're being mentally and emotionally abused lots of times, and sometimes physically abused. And so while you're waiting, those children are suffering. And then when we get to the judge, I really feel sorry sometimes for what the judges have to hear. And in the presentations is what's so important to them, because you're trying to figure out who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth, and sometimes both sides are, but lots of times that isn't the case. And so we're wanting to help them to be able to decipher through this, especially our judges, because when it gets down to it, those judges hold those children's lives in their hands, literally, because the longer they're away from their family members, the more those children are scarred. And these are scars that will be with them for the rest of their lives. This is not like, it's just for now, and when they get 18, they'll come back to you, or they'll come to you. That's bullcrap. Excuse me. That's exactly what it is.
Okay. That's okay.
That's not always the case. That's just appeasing you for the time being, and these children during all this time have been scarred, and these are scars they'll carry. I personally have spoken over the years with several children who were alienated from a parent or a grandparent, and they they carry scars, and they carry emotional insecurities and trust issues, so many things that they're dealing with because of being alienated, because of the lies that were told to them. I do understand there are times when a parent or grandparent is an abusive person themselves, and perhaps should not have visitation without having someone there with them. I do understand that there are cases that way, and in times like that, they can have visitation with someone there to supervise. But the child still needs to be able to see parents or grandparents, as long as it's not a super bad situation. In those cases, then there are times when that takes place, and they have to make a call the other way. And sadly for the child, they have a parent or a grandparent who really isn't everything they need to be for them. And but that's a rarity. These parents, or sometimes in the case of a grandparent, who want to spite the parent or grandparent. They don't like them, and because they don't like them, you're not going to see the kid. You cannot say with an honest and true heart that you totally love that child and you're putting them first. That's a total lie. You must understand that child has a God-given right to their family members, and just because you don't like someone, or you don't believe in God, for instance, and you don't want the child to know anything about God or anything like that, they should be kept from their family. That's wrong. That's totally wrong. There should be an agreement where you can have an understanding amongst yourselves what can and cannot be. Not everybody's going to be alike. Of course not. Not everybody is going to agree politically or religiously, but that shouldn't keep you from allowing a child or grandchild to be with that family member. And that is something that we see a lot of, and a lot of spite with it from there. Or the targeted family member is not doing what the alienator wants them to do, or you're spiting them for something else that you didn't like about them, and you're taking it out on the kid, and you think, oh no, I'm not, I'm protecting my child. No, you're not. You're using the child as a pawn, a piece of property. They're not either of those. They're not a case number. They are a human being that God made and has a right and liberty to everything we do in our world. And they should have the freedom to see their family. And that's the focus that we do a lot with Family Access. And this conference that I'm talking to you about, we are bringing all this out to where we want everyone to understand abuse. We want them to not think, oh, well, this is pseudoscience, it's garbage. Totally inaccurate. They're totally inaccurate in saying that. There's quite enough proof and evidence, which will be brought out to you during this conference, to let you know that's not the case. And we've got, like I said, our keynote speakers, Dr. Bone and Dr. Evans. Well, our co-directors are Dr. Stephen Miller, who in himself is to me, the most knowledgeable expert in the field of mental health disorders. He's also a medical doctor, but he also specializes with the mental health disorders and forensic science. And he is phenomenal in what he knows and what he brings out to us. We'll also have Ashish Joshi, who is an attorney out of Michigan, who's very well known, and the top family law person in Michigan, quite frankly. He is he's excellent at what he does, and he's fully involved in the cause, really dedicated to it. We also have another attorney, Robert Hoffman. He's out of Texas, and he's like the #1 family law attorney.
Right. And I did interview Attorney Ashish Joshi on my podcast. I think it was in January. And that went really well. And I also interviewed another attorney talking about court and how he interviews his clients. And it's very fascinating that Attorney Ashish Joshi wrote a book called Litigating Parental Alienation, and that has just come out as well. So that'll be interesting how that is received, and I really think it should be in every family law office, and it should also be handled in the law schools as well. Hey, Elaine, are you there? Did I lose you?
Are you there?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my mute button was on, but I'm sorry. But absolutely, with Ashish's books, I had the book. I got it. Ashish actually sent me a copy of it.
Oh,
and
good.
it's wonderful, and we're real happy about it, and I agree it needs to be in every law office. Judges could use it as well, and also in every law school. I totally agree with that. And Ashish has done quite an awesome job on this book, and it's very well versed and very well written. And I think it's going to really make a dent in helping people to understand and what to do with this. And he's a great speaker too as well, and he's very dedicated to the cause, as is, like I mentioned, did you hear me say about Robert Hoffman? Did you hear me say that a while ago?
I don't
Okay.
I don't think so.
Robert Hoffman is in Texas, and he's pretty much the #1 family law guy down there. He's received all kinds of accolades, and just a remarkable guy. He's one you should probably want to get on your podcast too, Marianne. He is really good, and I can connect you with him. I can connect you with any of them you want to get connected to. Dr. Colleen Murray will be our moderator, our panelist moderator, and she's really phenomenal. She's out of Missouri, and she's going to be taking care of those. And we also have Dr. William Burnett will be speaking, and they call him the King of PA, and he will be speaking on the Daubert, and that will be good. Linda Gottlieb, who was like, I call her the little reunification queen. She is great at her work. She has much success. She's in the 90% in success rates with her cases, which is awesome. And she'll be speaking actually twice. And she's got a lot to bring to us on reunification. She's even going to be having role play. Some of those that are registered will be doing what she calls a family access family role play. And she did it at our conference, at our symposium in Kentucky, and she did an awesome job, and everybody loved it. And it got the people, interacting and involved there. And she'll be doing that again at this conference because it went over so well. She'll be doing that with some other topics. And Dr. Carol Golly will be talking to us on grandparent alienation. She did an awesome dissertation regarding that. And she was actually one of our first speakers that we ever had, Marianne. I think it was September of 2012. She was our speaker for our conference call. And she does have a strong burden for grandparent alienation. And we're looking to hire her. We've already spoke with her about this. She's going to do a research, and you're the first one that gets to hear this publicly, on grandparent alienation. And this is something that needs to be done.
Yes.
And she's perfect for it, and has the passion for it. And that matters a lot when you're doing this research. And she's going to do that. And this can be used for, like, when they do the Congresses, when they get together to make laws and bills, they'll have this information, and this will help with them making grandparent bills and helping with grandparents' rights. And also, when in court, this can also be used there. So it's gonna be a big opening for grandparent alienation and grandparents' rights and children's rights with their grandparents, what I like to call, most importantly, because their children are what's the top for us. They are what matters. And sometimes, I've said many times when I get calls and emails and texts from these alienated parents or grandparents, and it's all about them. And some of them get upset with me, and I explain to them it can't be about us. It absolutely must be about them. They are the person that lives with the alienator the most, not 24/7, a lot of them, but sometimes, it's not, but they're still most of the time with that alienator. And that's really not a good thing. So we need to put them before ourselves. And, I know it's a horrible thing. I call it, the hell on earth of alienation. That's what I've labeled it many years ago. And it's totally that. But we need to understand it's about the children and the grandchildren. It can't be about us. We have to focus on them. We have to focus on how can we make it better for them? How can we understand what they're dealing with? And that's what Family Access tries to do, in our monthly and bi-monthly calls and webinars to bring these things out to help them to understand and support. We have also a huge website. It's called Family Access Fighting for Children's Rights.com. And you literally could spend days on that website. There's so much information there. And we keep adding to it on a regular basis. We have ways to tell you how to look for an attorney, what questions to ask that attorney on alienation. You go in there, they'll fill you with a bunch of bull that they understand, and because they're wanting you to hire them, and many times they don't have a clue about alienation. Well, if they don't have a clue about alienation, you're sunk, and you need an attorney. You need mental health specialists who understand alienation. GALs need to understand alienation, and so we have things on our website to explain to you what to look for, what to ask in hiring people to represent you. Because as I've often said, and I even said it to you earlier, we sometimes only get one shot at this in court. And if you're only getting one shot, you best get it right then. So you better have the right people there to help you that know what they're talking about, know what they're doing. And it's not a song and dance routine. It's getting down to the basics. It's getting down to the sciences. It's being able to mental health people working with these children and family members, and then for the attorneys to get in court and get it right. I've said before, don't look at these children as if they're not really people. They're just as much a person as they are. And to them and to the judges, get it right. Make it about them as a human being, not as a case number. And make it where when you lay your head down at night, you did everything you could for that child or that grandchild to make it best for them. And so many times you'll see, even in the laws that are being written in the best interest, quote unquote, of the child, lots of times even those bills aren't, quote unquote, in the best interest of the child. And that's why we have to keep going back to make it better each time we're allowed to go back to make that better. Even in equal shared parenting bills, grandparent right bills, or whatever, you want to keep adding to it until it gets better all the time. And to do that, you need to have the right information brought before you. And that's what we do with our phone calls and all that we do with all of those. Now, we also are going to be having a symposium in October. That's going to be October 15th and 16th. And that will be a live one, we hope, in person here in Durham, North Carolina, right outside of Raleigh. And it will be called How to Cope with the Emptiness. And this will be specifically targeting parents who have adult children that they're alienated from, as well as alienated grandparents. Most of what our calls puts out on our calls and our webinars monthly targets more into the younger children that are alienated from parents. We have a lot of that on our calls, and then we have so many of our adult alienated children, parents and grandparents who are on the calls. We have a couple of grandmamas in the UK. Now, when we do our calls, they're 5 or 6 hours different in time. It's the middle of the night there for them. They never miss a call. They're alienated grandmoms, and they're always there, faithful as they can be. It truly blesses my heart to know the love that they have and the compassion they have to learn all that they can, and the fervor to help that child or grandchild, to be able to get back to their family and to understand. And they are such a blessing. One of the grandmoms even schedules her vacations around our calls, and she's really something. Her name's Wilma. She's really special. Hi, Wilma.
That's awesome.
She is such a blessing. She is really.
So you're getting a lot of calls On? Hey, where'd you go? Did I lose you again? Hello, hello.
Here we go. I don't know why it keeps doing that, but do I get what now?
Do you get like a lot of calls, parent parents calling in, and some of them are highly desperate? And how do you handle all that?
Well, on our calls and our webinars itself, everybody is muted through those now, so it doesn't interfere with the speakers in their presentations, because everybody will, we've got about 1,100 people on our calls now. That would be a mass circus and zoo if we had the lines open for everybody to chat. So basically, they don't talk during those. They're allowed on the 2-hour calls that we do in the webinars that we do each month. They're allowed to send a question in that would be in relation to the subject of the presentation being presented for the expert. And Tuesday is always the deadline, and on Wednesday morning I send those to the expert, and they implement them into their presentation, and that helps them. That's a personal thing for them, that they'll have that understanding of what's going on with them implemented into the presentation. And then we have we used to, we don't anymore, and I have to say we just had our first webinar, and I really miss at the end, usually on our conference calls, I opened the lines at the end so everybody could say good night. And I mean, it's a bunch of people talking and stuff, but a lot of our people enjoyed that part because they were able to know that they're not in this alone. And sometimes you feel that way. I know when you first start out as an alienated parent or grandparent, you're like, what did I do wrong? I'm ashamed, embarrassed that this is happening in my family, and I don't really want people to know. And I went through that myself, because in my situation, my son Brian and I were extremely close, and then all of a sudden we were nothing, and I still have no idea why. He's never given me an answer, nor has his now ex-wife, Kate. She hasn't either, as to why this took place. But nonetheless, it is. And there was a lot of time where I questioned myself as to what did I do wrong, trying to figure it out and begging them to tell me why. And of course, with no response. But parents go through this, grandparents go through that, and having these meetings, support calls we do now some, they understand they're not in this alone. You're not the only person. There's millions, literally millions all over the world that are going through this terrible epidemic of alienation. And at the end of the call, we always would get together and everybody would say good night, stay strong, we're going to get back with our family. And it was such a blessing every time. I literally had tears in my eyes at the end of every call with them doing that. But this webinar, we weren't able to do that. And I was like, oh, that was kind of a downer at the end because nobody could say goodnight, So we're trying to figure out what we can do about that.
Do you have, like, when the alienated parent or grandparent is typing in questions, do they get responded to? I mean, you probably can't respond to all the questions, or can you?
During the webinar, we do have, we use WebEx, and we do have the chat line open there. And what we did at the end of that, I copied and pasted every bit of it, and I sent it to Dr. Burnett because he can't pay attention to that while he's talking, and doing his presentation. So I sent it to him. I emailed it to him and gave them the name of the person and their email address, and he responded privately to them, which I found was very, very nice of him to do that. And that's probably the way we're going to be handling the questions that are brought up. So I'm copying and pasting it at the end of the call before we close out, and then sending it to our presenter. That will be the way that we do that to get back to them. So yes, they will have those questions answered as long as they're pertaining to the subject of the call. That's the one thing we always have to keep in mind with everyone. We don't want to get away from what the topic is that the expert is speaking on that particular presentation. So we always try to get them to stick with the topic. And because we have so many calls with so many topics, eventually they're going to get to what you want, and so that's how we do that.
Do you run into very angry parents that are, I don't want to
Yes.
say, like lashing out, and how do you handle that?
Well, in the past 9 years, I've had all kinds, and sometimes it's, I understand their grief, their pain, their frustration. Uh, Taking it out on someone that's trying to help them is not the right way to handle it, But sometimes that does happen, and I try to, to work through it with them the best I can, and letting them know that I understand too, because I too, hurt and deal with that emptiness. And so yeah, we do have that. And I basically just try to work through it. I actually had one Sunday from someone in Canada, and he kind of thought we were, in a money-making business here, which, that's the last thing Family Access or myself is. We're in this only for the cause, only for helping to make it better and do everything we can. I don't make a penny. I don't take a penny out of anything that comes in for our folks, from our folks, and in the donations, and the monies that come in goes right back into the cause. For instance, when we do our study coming up, that's gonna take a lot of money. So we're working towards building up on that as well. But yeah, and then they get frustrated that, we don't do the call the way they want to do the call, or when they want to do it, blah, blah, blah. And, I learned a long time ago, you can't make everybody happy. You do the best you can, but it's not going to be where everyone's going to be happy. I let them know that I love them, I care for them, I pray for them, and I do every day. Sometimes in the night, I'm praying for specific people who are really struggling or have court the next day, or whatever. And you gotta love each other. You can't fight each other. Some of these groups out there have so much drama. I've noticed it on Facebook. We don't allow drama on the Family Access Facebook page. You won't find any there. If somebody says something that's not right, it's taken off and they're blocked, because that's not something I'm going to tolerate. We're there as a support page. We're not there to bash anybody, to be belligerent. We don't put up with the cursing and yelling and type attitude. We don't tolerate any of that. If you want drama, there's plenty of other Facebook pages you can go to find that, but we in ourselves won't put up with anything like that. We also have Facebook pages for the how to helping the courts understand the phenomenon of alienation. We have a Facebook page for that. We also have a Facebook page for how to cope with the emptiness, and we still have our Facebook page up for the Parental Grandparent Alienation and Equal Shared Parenting Symposium, and people still respond on those as well. We've just kept them up because we still kept getting responses. So yeah, we do that. And I also don't think I mentioned the speakers either for the how to cope with emptiness. We'll have Dr. Stephen Miller, Dr. Amy Baker, Dr. Sue Kornbluff, and Dr. Carol Golly will be there, as well as Dr. John Killinger. Dr. John Killinger, his wife was the pioneer in bringing out grandparent alienation years ago, his late wife Annie. And he, to this day, is still alienated from one of his sons. He has two, and he's only seen two of his 4 grandchildren ever. And so he is awesome. He's a reverend, and we always love having Dr. John with us in September for at Grandparents' Day. And he'll also be speaking the Friday night of the How to Cope with Emptiness Symposium. He himself goes through this. He understands better than any of the other experts who don't really go through it, but do study it and work with the people. But he's great, and everybody loves Dr. Killinger. He is like everybody's fave who deals with grandparent alienation. They all love him. But I look forward, and I've said it many times, I look forward to the day when I'm in heaven that I get to meet Annie. She passed away with cancer, but she paved the way for many grandparents. and bringing this to the forefront. And that was a hard thing to do. It really was. And she did. She wrote an excellent book, and John has wrote books. He has books called, from Poppy with Love, that he's written 3 books to his grandchildren, and speaking to them about what's happened, their situation, and how much he loves them and has done everything he can to get to them. And for me, it's pretty much the same thing with Family Access. I started this basically because of Dare and what she's going through, and of course my son Brian, and that's why we started this. But we've tried to turn the bad around and try to make it good, and we hope to continue, to do that in helping people. And people can register for both the symposium and the conference now. It's online. There's web pages on our website for both of those. So I hope people will take the opportunity to do that as well.
Do you, like, when you have these webinars and these parents are writing in, do you ever do a thing like for parents that live in Raleigh, North Carolina, how many of you live there? And like trying to maybe connect parents and grandparents together for support systems
Support groups.
Yeah, and for themselves, even to find a friend that is going through this and that they already get it.
Right. We have done that many times. We don't meet as a support group like some people are doing. I have a health issue that I have to be really careful how far out I expand myself. I'm already doing more than I probably should. But about 4 years ago, I was really even doing more than what I'm doing. And my doctors and my husband both said, knock it off. I even took a few months away from Family Access because I was starting to regress. And so in coming back, I had to promise my husband and my doctors that this is how far I'll go, and I won't go past that. So, but yes, we connect them through online and things like that. But I don't get involved anymore with the support groups outside. I don't have the time, and really I don't really need to spread myself any thinner than what I already am. But we do connect people, yes, and I send them to other groups like the Facebook. There's some Facebook pages that are really good that I know are not the drama, the drama situation, and I refer them to those where they can call it. And we actually ourselves have a secret chat room. Can't give you the name of it, of course, but secret chat room. But for family members, and I screen people to get into that room. So it's you're not everybody gets in there. It's a small group. It's just a few hundred, and but yeah, we have that, and that's always there for them. And sometimes they're on there in the middle of the night. Of course, there's people in other countries too, but it's just a place where people understand and they're there for you. And this new page that we've just started up on how to cope with the emptiness, that's pretty much going to be what that's about. Is you can talk about your situation. You can, and I encourage people to go to Facebook and look that up, how to cope with the emptiness, and that will be only stuff as a support to you. It will be where I post scriptures on there. I post positive memes of encouragement. Try to every day. And we also have another page called Peace and Security. Peace and Serenity. That we do a lot of that, and it's all positive. There's no negatives on either of those pages. Not whatsoever. We don't allow the negativities. Those are positive pages as support to people, encouragement to people who are going through alienation, and the Peace and Serenity has really been really doing great. And we've just now started up the how to cope with the emptiness page, and we're trying to build that up too. So those are good pages, and just having someone to talk to is oftentimes good. Sometimes they don't have to really give you anything but encouragement. If you're not a professional, you really shouldn't be giving out advice on what to do and things like that, unless you really know what you're talking about. And so I personally just kind of listen and just try to give them encouragement. That's what we do.
And I think that's all you can do. It just, people are so lost when this happens, and then they have their children ghosting in and out of their lives, and people don't know how to handle that.
Yep. Well, it's like, what do you do? I mean, you've got, who would have ever thought? And I know that the Bible speaks, and I'm actually in the process of writing something about the scriptures and how they deal with alienation, and for parents and grandparents. And I'm in the process of doing that, and I just started it last week. It's going to be a slow process, but I want to get it right before I put it out there. But the Bible speaks of the children, going away from their family, but prodigal son, for instance, but who would have ever thought in your life personally this would happen to you?
Mm-hmm.
We have doctors, psychiatrists, we have medical doctors, we have pediatricians, we have actors on our calls, we have news correspondents on our calls, and then we have, like I said, homeless. It's not a respecter of persons at all. Alienation. It hits everybody. It hits all walks of life, and you just have to say. And some people say, "Why me? Why me, God?" And I have to admit, I've said that myself. But God does have a purpose in what's going on. We've just got to trust Him. There's scriptures that say, His ways are not our ways, His thoughts are not our thoughts. And that's true. And of course it comes from the Bible, but you just have to say, Lord, whatever it is, work it out, and I trust you with it. I don't understand it, truly don't understand, but I know you make no mistakes, so I'll wait for you to fix it. And pray for each other, pray for your children, pray for your grandchildren. You don't understand their mindsets either a lot of times, and what's causing it, and the brainwashing that is being done. Dr. J. Michael Bone, he actually did, and it's on our replays on our website. If people want to go to that, you can get it. And listen, he did one on brainwashing, and it was one of the best calls we've ever had. And I literally sat there and sobbed through the whole thing. It really tells you a lot about what happens. And in my personal life, I would have never understood how an adult child could be so brainwashed. I guess I was naive, but he is brainwashed. I know that. I have seen him, and I know he's not the child that I raised. He's basically what I would call the shell of my child. And that's the way it is for many out there. They're not the same person that you raised and knew all those years, and all of a sudden now they're not who you raised, and it's because of the brainwashing, that from the alienator, whether it be a parent or whether it be their partner or their husband or their wife, that this is happening, and getting through that is very difficult at best, and understanding it is very important. So I encourage people, if they want to listen to Dr. Bone's presentation on brainwashing, that's a very good one, and I've listened to it several times. For me personally, it's really a good one. We have several replays on our website that people can go to and listen to them for a very small fee, and lots of good things on there, even how to work in court, do things in court, and just several topics. We've tried to pick out our best ones over the years, and I went through a whole library of calls we've had in deciding which ones we would put out there, but lots of them are on there, so I encourage people to do that. Also, people can, we have several of our experts have their own web pages on our website, and there's lots of videos out there for you to watch, lots of things to read. I mean, there's so much. We have a book referral page. We have a professional page. We try to cover it all to help in bringing as much knowledge to the family member as well as the profession who works in the field of alienation.
What do you think about Stockholm Syndrome?
It's real.
Yeah, you're right.
It's to me that's it in a nutshell. If I start talking about that too much, personally, I start crying. But no, I don't. I'm not trying to get sympathy, but I just don't want to make an idiot of myself on here either. So,
oh no.
But yeah, it's really real, and it's sad, and I pretty much probably don't need to go past that on it. But yeah, it's definitely real.
Right. And even even if you get a chance to like talk to your child, I mean, if like one of mine made contact, and I said, "You've been brainwashed." I said, that memory never even happened. Like their whole memories, their childhood memories have been so deleted.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't know what to think of that. It's like, you don't remember the fun Halloween parties and all the fun things we've done, and you don't remember any of this. And it's like they have relinquished these memories.
Personally, I think they remember it, but they've got a wall built up around it to where they don't want to think about it, because those were good things about you or whoever the family member they're alienated from, the targeted family member. They don't want to remember those good things a lot of times, because then, they'll feel bad or they'll feel guilty. I know our experts tell us not to really go with them, and which I've been guilty of up until I started having these calls, of telling my son in emails or whatever, that, kind of boxing him in a corner, which I'm sorry that I did, but I was in such desperation of wanting to reach him, but you don't really want to box them in a corner to where you're wanting them to feel guilty or whatever in that respect. And they basically say when your child or grandchild comes back, start fresh and new. Don't dwell on the past. Mm-hmm. As much as you want to. You got to not do it. You got to just leave it there. Start fresh and new. Be thankful to God that that you're having this opportunity of making more memories. And but I personally, I believe that they do think about those times. They don't want you to remind them like I've done. Well, no, okay, I take that back. They do say to remind them, but carefully in how you remind them. Like, oh, I was just thinking about a time when we did this together, and try to just leave it there. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to share that with you, and I've done that. I've done that with Brian, and lots of times I've wanted to even send more, but I don't want to barricade him, and smother him with emails or texts or whatever. But yeah, you have to be careful. Telling them that you love them is very important. They need to still know that you love them no matter what. It's an unconditional love, regardless of what's going on, what lies have been told,
right.
What ways they've talked to you, the hurt that they've caused. You don't know what's been implanted into their heads, what brainwashing has been occurred, what they've been told, what they've been taught to believe now, even as an adult, whether they're a little kid or teenager or an adult, they're still brainwashed. Mm-hmm. And you just have to pray. All you can do is love them and pray. Yeah, in my situation, that's where we are. We can only love them and pray. There's nothing else we can do other than that, and in a lot of our people's situations, that's where they are. And then you have parents who want to give up, and not as much grandparents, but definitely some parents who just say, screw it, I'm through with it, I'm not going to keep dealing with this, but and I've been there, trust me, more than not. Let me tell you, lately, it's been 10 years, but you have to still love them regardless, whether they really ever come back or not. They're still your child. Nobody can change that, not even them, even if they want to. They're still your child. And you just have to love them unconditionally and pray for God to open their minds and their hearts and clear them and clean them of those thoughts and feelings that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we can do. We can't be their Jesus,
Right.
and Satan is fighting with a mighty power. And I personally feel like we're getting towards the end times.
Mm-hmm.
In the Bible, I truly believe, it's not going to be that much longer, with everything going on, how quickly things are escalating through the scripture of the end times. But, and this is one of those things where children turn away from their parents and all. But all we can do is love them and try to be everything that we can for them, and that's where we are in ours, and many of the others are the same way. Some of them say, well, I've just give up. I think when we say that, and I've said that, and really sometimes even right now I feel that way, but you're guarding your heart is basically what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is my son ever coming back? I don't know. I think the way some circumstances are right now that I can't really go into, in my case, he may not, um, but we just have to know that God is in control, and God isn't. He's a miracle making God, and for that we need to hold on to what He can do. He can change your children's hearts. He can change your older grandchildren's hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we have to hold on to it, and knowing that can take place.
Well, I will ask you one last question because I don't want to keep you all day. But have you had parents say, things were going fine until a third party entered the picture?
Oh, most of the time that's the situation. Yeah, we like I was saying, it can either be the other parent, the alienating parent. It can be a mate, partner, spouse, whatever. But that's usually when it takes place. It's not usually, I'd say 90% at least of the time that I've dealt with people, it's not with just your child or your grandchild thing. It's somebody else involved in the situation that's fueling the flames, that's causing the brainwashing, that's making it impossible in so many ways for it to be better, for you and your family. When you go from a close knit family to my son has nothing to do with his side of the family. He tries to do what we call Photoshop things to pretend like yes he does, but he really doesn't. And my mom is 86. She misses him tremendously. Would love to see him and spend time with him, but nothing. So
Mm.
that's hard to understand too. So, but you just again, it's many circumstances are in the way, um, and sometimes they feel like they can't come back after all so long, you know, because they don't want to say they're sorry,
Mm-hmm.
or they feel like, well, I don't think it's going to be good if I try to come back. It's going to be all screwed up. When in essence, it really doesn't have to be that way. again, you start fresh and new. You don't go back to the past. You start like a brand new day, a brand new time. And you don't have to ask, will you owe me forgiveness? You know, you should apologize to me. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help your child. That's not going to help you. It's not going to help the situation at all. Let it go, drop it, forgive them. You have to forgive them for yourself, even. You have to forgive them so you don't have to carry that. And forgiveness is very, very important. And that was something I was talking to another parent about last week. And she wanted some scriptures on forgiveness, so I sent those to her. But it's hard. It's not easy. We all know that. It's not easy to forgive when you've been hurt, but you got to lay it down. Look at what happens to God, what happens to him every day, and in Jesus, and Jesus died for us. So we could go to heaven, and he didn't have to do that. And he was treated horribly, and he could have stopped it. He could have not done it, but he did it because he loved us. And for that, I'm grateful, because, we'll get to go to heaven. But we in ourselves, to be Christ-like, have to be that way too, and forgiving those who have wronged us. Like if it's your ex-husband or ex-partner that's causing the grief and pain and torment that what you're going through with your kids, you have to let go. You got to let it go, and you can forgive them, and you should. Don't mean you're going to forget what they've done or what they're doing, but forgiveness is very important for you more than them. And so I do encourage people to do that. And I know in myself, I've had to do that. And I honestly can say that for those that I know that are involved in our situation and wronged our family in doing what they're doing to our family who were close, I forgave them, and I honestly, before God, can say I have forgiven them, and you just have to pray that your child or your grandchild's hearts will be tender, that they'll turn to God first and foremost, and then move on from there. And if you're blessed and they come back, then you pick it up right that minute and start all over. When the day comes that we meet our granddaughter, and trust me, that's going to happen, whether they want it to happen, it's going to happen. And when that day comes, you don't go at bashing their parents because they kept the child away from you, the grandchild away from you. You should never bash their parents. That's not going to help them. It's not going to help you. You don't. When I say them, I mean the grandchild. I'm not talking about the parents. I'm talking about that's not helping the grandchild. You should do what's best for them as far as not talking negative about their parents, because they're their parents. They can't help what their parents did. It's not because of them doing anything. It's because of the parents, and it's and what the child has been told, the grandchild. And you just have to forgive what's happened, and just move forward and pray. If you can pray for them, that's great. And pray, especially for your grandchild, that they'll be safe, that they'll be brought to God, all that, and that they'll be with their family. But I do know with all my heart and with positivity that we will one day see our granddaughter, no matter what. That will take place, and that will not be stopped from happening. I absolutely know that one day Dare will know how much we loved her and do love her, and are fighting every day for her and others who are having to go through this. But she will absolutely know how much she is loved by her family, and how much we miss her, and long to see her, long to hug her, and tell her in face to face that, we love you. And that's how so many parents and grandparents are feeling right now. And I'm speaking, when I speak, I'm speaking for them as well. you just long for that, but you just have to hold on and be strong, stay healthy, if not for yourself, for them. And because one day you're going to need to be that way, so you can, have that time with them and still be here to be with them.
Definitely. Again, uh, could you please tell how people can reach you if they have any questions?
Yes, you can reach me. Our email address that we use for everybody to email me is family access, and that's INNC, like family access in North Carolina, at AOL.com. Our website is www.familyaccessfightingforchildren'srights.com.
And I'll put that in the notes for the podcast too.
Thank you.
And I'd like to have you back on,
I would love
like,
to.
yeah, because, like after these symposiums and things, it'd be great to have you on and we can talk about that. And
That
um,
sounds great.
yeah, that would be great. So I'm going to still keep you on. I'm going to close this out, but still hang on, Elaine, okay? And I'm glad
Certainly.
to
Thank you
have you.
again, Marianne, for having me. It's been an honor.
Oh, it's been an honor for me. I totally thank you.
I love to having the opportunity to let people know about, alienation and the abuse. So thank you for giving me that opportunity and forum.
And we're going to do it again.
I look forward to it.
Good. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in the family courtrooms that in turn perpetuate parental alienation. I am your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again in the future with Elaine and other guests coming on. So thank you so much.